not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate. That's true.
You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board, that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively, and therefore they will suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. When that plane crashed in Springs with 130 white people on it,
no one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders, then die when it's over. Ain't no global warming, the world getting colder. Ain't nobody doing shit, they taking our culture. Wake up and see y'all, ain't no balance on one side of the seesaw. We at war with Esau, and ain't nobody down with us. My niggas get up, I know what it's like to wake up fucked up. I know what it's like when the pain cut deep. You can't get on your feet and you just wanna stay asleep. When the shit too much, a nigga needs to roll up. And all you got is this money and it still ain't enough. To live is to survive, gotta hustle to stay alive. My girl don't understand, I can see that look in her eyes. So not to trouble the soul, I pacify with lies. I inflict the pain and wipe the tears of her cries. Baby, I know you heard and apologies in advance. I just pray to God that he give me another chance. Trying to make it to heaven, I got one hell of a plan. Dancing with the devil makes me a hell of a man. Yeah, I'm trying to be a better man, but my nigga down south won't put me up 200 hands. He told me if I needed to put that shit in my hands, is that a curse or a blessing, or do I see at the end?
We learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in. Why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God. And I frankly
never
pray for a similar blessing from him.
Levels to this, and I said it like I said it, cause I wanted to hit. I give credit where it's relevant, we better than them. It's evident we set the precedents to elevate men, but we'll never know the end when it's killing other black men. And how we supposed to trust the hand we eat off, if we hand fed the very poison we feed off. We don't even need all this extra shit they letting us get. It only hold us back from our excellence. Link some, get together, ball, invest in shit. The true value of life, love my children and wife, love to all of my niggas who can't be free for the fight. R.I.P. all my niggas who passed on for this life. I love my brothers off the strength, whether he wrong or he right. Let your woman have that glory, baby, I'm wrong, you right. The true glory is through God and how I'm shining my light. Bust down Cartiers to see my sins in the night. Now what I call my darkest hours all depends on the price. I done sat and ate with snakes, I seen men become mice. I let my pen speak my mind, the only way I did twice. All that I sacrificed, I should exceed in this life.
You don't get freedom, people. Freedom is never safeguarded. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England. He says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. When you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you'll get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we've been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to stick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hoses on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
Being proud of something, I think of something I worked for, or that I had to do nothing to be white, absolutely nothing, and nothing was taken from me because I was white.
It's like saying I'm a proud white person is a completely different saying than saying I'm a proud black person. Because when you hear I'm a proud black person, I think empowerment, I think strength, I think courage, I think, all these amazing things that the Black community has done and accomplished throughout the years. But then when you say I'm a proud white person, already there's so much hate involved in that.
Thing about that is like how you said, someone who says I'm proud to be Black, that's empowerment. Why aren't I allowed to be proud to be white? What makes it wrong?
You haven't been oppressed.
Yeah, what are you proud of? Just your skin color? Because yes, that is wrong.
So you're saying I can't be proud to be white because I don't have a culture?
No, that's not what I'm saying. When I
Shalom, what's good? I know y'all see the title. What's crackin' lacking? Yeah, we gotta deal with it, people. It came to this, right? It came to this, and being good Christian folks, we gotta deal with these things. We gotta help somebody today, tonight. How they say, help me help you, right? You see the title. You know what I'm saying? That ain't right. Save the whites from the whites. White lives matter too, white people. Yeah. We gonna get into it. But of course, giving all praises to the Most High God, and we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? The Most High God, Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world might probably know as Jesus Christ. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, man. This is crazy, man. This has been on me heavy. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta protect these people, right? Because they are unaliving themselves, astronomically, I first took, took me by alarm when the Charlie Kirk thing happened. I'm like, dang, this white on white violence is this, and then that same day it was a school shooting, and then I'm just looking like, wow, these white people is like, it's something really going on with them. They need some help, If we don't help them, they're gonna, not be here too much longer. We gotta do something about it. They're already dropping in a population, right? They went from 51% to now 49%. Right? So they tripping, man. They going crazy. Gotta help them, right? So the thing is, they are just prone to violence, when you look at it, And this is serious, right? This is real serious. We gotta be serious. Let me let you know I'm serious. I'm taking my glasses off. Let you know I'm serious, right? You gotta help them, right? They're prone to violence. Not only are they prone to violence, it's like they're just all around just bad parenting. FBI statistics will tell you that. So we gotta help them. You know what I'm saying? Like when I turn on the news and I see, mass shootings happen and they show me the picture and it's them, I'm like, damn, that's such a shame. Like who's, like somebody has to do something, right? Somebody has to warn white people about white people, right? And let white people know how dangerous white people are. Because I don't think they know. Because they spend so much time profiling everybody else, they don't look at themselves. And then before you know it, a family of 4, they all found, unalive. Because nobody's profiling them. Nobody's looking at them. Before you know it, little Timmy came to school and it made a mess of his classroom because nobody's profiling them. We have to help them help themselves, right? It's crazy. You know? Very crazy. Let's get some stuff right here. You know, because we need to understand this. This is crazy. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna listen to Skip Bayless and put my glasses back on, right? Before I get upset, cause we gotta help. You know, cause like Whitney Houston said, "I believe the children of the future." So we gotta protect them white children. They living in hell, right? Then not only are these white children living in hell, then they come to school and they exhibit that hell with assault rifles and such. So we gotta stop this stuff, man. Saddens me. Hold on. So we gotta understand the pronality of the Caucasian race, right? And I don't know if that's a word or not, but you know how it goes. We make up words and then they be real, all right? The pronality, I'm gonna say it again because it sounds nice. The pronality of violence and anger and destruction that these people have. You know, I mean, their hatred and killing has gotten so out of control that we're on a version World War III. That's how out of control it gotten. In case you don't know, right? So just see what's going on over here, right? Let's see something. Dang it! Hold on. We gotta help. You gotta help them out, man. Cause they not capable of helping themselves. You know, they try, but every time, you know, they keep getting away with, you know, with crime. You know, because they're not able to police themselves. And I have this off the top of my head, you know, my solution. I think we need more policing. I think we need heavy policing in the white suburban areas, right? We need heavy stop and frisk in the white suburban area. That will curb this criminal, animalistic behavior that we're seeing. You know, then we won't have to worry about them bringing firearms to school and unaliving, you know, classmates, because we have a system in place that can, you know, filter the bad ones out, you know, and protect the whites that want to be protected from the whites, right? Because this white on white crime stuff is ridiculous, crazy. Every time I turn on the news, it's like, and another one bites the dust. Another one bites. You know, so I'm like, what the heck going on over here, right? I'm serious. So, let's see this real quick. Boom. Because these people just prone to, like, committing crime, you know. I find myself, like, having to really watch myself when I'm around. I don't know what they're going to do. And, I mean, because we got the status to, the statistics to kind of back it up. And, you know, they're committing crime at an astronomical number. The FBI statistics tell us this. Right here. Oh, now you don't want to play her. Come on, tell the truth, shame the devil. Hold on.
such as DUI, over 80%.
Okay.
Property crimes, around 62%.
That was my bad. I had the volume down low. I'm trying to, but you never know. But here you go. I'm gonna have to probably start it over since.
7%. And aggravated assault, around 62%. Because the FBI tracks race and sex separately or in broad combined tables, exact cross-tabulated figures vary slightly by year and reporting agency. Detailed breakdowns by crime type are available directly on the FBI Crime Data Explorer.
I just run that back. So, it says overall arrests, right? So,
FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting, UCR program, tracks national arrest statistics by demographic categories, including race and sex. FBI Arrest Demographic Summary. Overall arrests. White individuals account for roughly 68% to 70% of all arrests in the U.S. annually.
so these guys are potentially responsible for 70% of crime that goes on in the U.S. I mean, what are we supposed to do with these numbers? I mean, something has to be done. We have to have heavy policing. That's my suggestion. I mean, perhaps somebody can come up with, better. I mean, maybe build a building where we can house them at, I know, something like a prison. Who knows, right? But something has to be done. 70% of all arrests of the U.S. annually? Oh, gosh.
Sex males account for approximately 73% of all total arrests and roughly 79% of arrests for violent crimes.
Then about 79% of white males. Oh, God, this is crazy.
Highlights. White individuals make up the majority of arrests in categories such as DUI, over 80%. Property crimes, around 62 to 67%, and aggravated assault, around 62%. Because the FBI tracks race and sex separately or in broad combined tables, exact cross-tabulated figures vary slightly by year and reporting agency. Detailed breakdowns by crime type are available directly on the FBI Crime Data Explorer.
So, I mean, these guys are petty thugs. I mean, at an alarming rate. I mean, they're obviously irresponsible. They're committing DUIs, like it's just, like they're just mowing the line, right? Property crime, I mean, of course, they're thieves. I mean, we know they stole America and other places. I mean, aggravated assault, 62%, because they're pretty violent. They're pretty violent people when you look at it. So, I mean, something has to be done. I mean, somebody has to protect white people from white people, right? Because these numbers are crazy. Let's see what else we got.
The FBI arrest data. White individuals account for approximately 65% to 70% of total arrests for rape and other sex offenses, while males make up over 95% of rape arrestees.
So, while, although, to be fair, although people might think it doesn't happen, but women that sexually assault men is not really reported as much. But it says right here, it says, while males make up 95% of the rape arrestees, so now the people that's sexually assaulting people, 95% of them are males. Then the statistic tells us that 70% of that 95% that are committing that, they are white males. So what are we supposed to do? It's crazy. We gotta help them, help themselves, because this is the fall of society. If we can't get this together.
Sexual offense prosecutions. Men comprise about 93% of offenders, with white men accounting for the majority of overall convictions and roughly 65% to 75% of federal child sexual exploitation cases.
So not only are there high risks of touching people inappropriately when they don't want to be touched, you also got to watch the children around these people. You know, gotta keep your watchful eye with your children around these people. So we have to protect kids from these people. We have to protect these white children from these people, because that's the ones that suffer the most. Because if you're familiar with how crime works, you know, crime usually happens to the people that's in your vicinity. So these people are doing these things to themselves. You know, white on white crime is an epidemic. Crazy. You know, and it's so amazing how it went under, it was able to, you know, creep, you know, just be under our nose the whole time without us even knowing. Crazy. Who would have known? Like I said, you know, we just thought that Columbine massacre stuff was a, you know, freak accident. You know, a couple little white guys, white boys, you know, found a couple, you know, trench coats and guns and decided to play dress up. You know, we didn't know that, you know, it extended to what happened to Sandy Hook. You know, we didn't think, like, it can go that far. We didn't think that, you know, maybe this Dark Knight movie could cause somebody to want to dress up like the Joker and go unalive everybody in the movie theater. We didn't think this far because, like, we never cared enough for white people. That's the problem. We never cared enough to look at white people to say, hey, you guys are killing people. You guys got to stop that. You know? We never cared enough. So we have to start caring about white people enough to stop them from killing each other. And to the point right now, we like I said, we about to go into World War III, right? That's how far they done been off the rails with their murderous tendencies, right? It's crazy. So, gotta do something about it. Let's listen to this one more time.
FBI arrest data. White individuals account for approximately 65% to 70% of total arrests for rape and other sex offenses, while males make up over 95% of rape arrestees. In federal sexual offense prosecutions, men comprise about 93% of offenders, with white men accounting for the majority of overall convictions and roughly 65% to 75% of federal child sexual exploitation cases.
Crazy. We gotta do something. We need to galvanize the white conglomerate, or however you say it, to actually care enough to do something about this. Right? This is crazy.
Does not track domestic violence as a standalone category in standard arrest statistics, as it is classified under specific offenses like aggravated assault, simple assault, or homicide. However, Justice Department and CDC survey data indicate that white individuals make up roughly 50% to 60% of all domestic violence offenders, and white women report experiencing intimate partner violence at a rate of about 2.6 per 1,000 individuals annually, around half the rate of black women, but higher than Asian/Pacific Islander groups.
So, they're bad boyfriends, bad husbands. You know, you might get a black eye, maybe two. Right? If you're lucky. That's the lucky ones. You know, if you don't get chopped up and found in a suitcase. Right? You know, you're lucky to get a black eye. You know? Dealing with this. And this is something that has to be addressed, you know, because when we look through history, we see their violent nature. We saw what they did to the Native Americans. All of the Native Americans did was offer them food and water and shelter. That's all they did. Right? And where is a Native American? Can anybody point out the nearest Native American to you? I mean, we used to count them. 1 little Indian, 2 little Indian, 3 little Indian, 4 little Indian. You know, we can't even count them no more. What happened? So we have to do something to stop this, because this is spilling over to the world stage. You know, they don't have enough of this unaliving themselves. I mean, the whole time up in Europe when they was calling themselves kings and queens and stuff. I mean, they were unaliving each other at an alarming rate for those titles and for, that dominion over there until they decided to spill out and come out to the rest of the world. It's crazy. And we as the people, we have to, we have to police this type of behavior, right? If they're not willing to police themselves, we have to put stuff in place to, if not protect them, but protect ourselves from them, because they're not able to protect themselves from themselves. It's crazy. Let's see this real quick. And I ain't heard of it. It's crazy. We gotta really, hold on.
The repository for national child maltreatment data is the Department of Health and Human Services National Child Abuse and Neglect Data System, NCANDS. As local police reports track criminal charges rather than centralized Child Protective Services, CPS outcomes. Perpetrator demographics and child maltreatment data, race/ethnicity. White individuals account for roughly 45% to 47% of all substantiated child maltreatment perpetrators nationally. Sex. Men make up approximately 47% of confirmed perpetrators across all maltreatment types, neglect, physical abuse, and sexual abuse, while women account for about 52%. Paternal status. Asterisk in total CPS data. Fathers acting alone account for 25% of cases, while two parents acting together account for 19.3%. Among male perpetrators specifically, biological fathers make up about 51%, followed by non-parent male relatives, partners, stepfathers, mothers' boyfriends, and male relatives making up the remainder. Specific data on white fathers. In research analyzing male perpetrators via NCANDS data, approximately 58% of male perpetrators are white, and biological or stepfathers reflect this same demographic distribution.
I mean, that's crazy information. And only if white people can look at this stuff and be like, wow, we need to do something about ourselves, And maybe, like I said, my only suggestion, perhaps prison, maybe we shouldn't call it prison, but just a facility to house them at so they can, be themselves, but don't let them out. They can't go out that facility. They gotta stay in there. That way they can live out their whatever they like to do. But without affecting the rest of the world, right? Because something has to be done, because they're not doing it, because they're not able to do it themselves. Because if they were, how they say, if you know better, you do better, right? So they got this data, because this is from the FBI, but what are they doing with this information? They're putting the police and all that stuff in the wrong areas of the country. They need them in white suburbia, deep. Not just the police, they need the militarized police. Militarized styling police there. Right? That's what they need. Right? They need damn near escorts to wherever they go. Right? Just to make sure, everything is on the straight and narrow. Because people like to go out. They don't have to want to worry about if there's a sniper in the distance about to try to take out, whoever, right? So we got to do something.
Percent to 55% of mass shooters in the U.S. over the last decade were white, according to research databases like the Violence Project and Mother Jones. This reflects public mass shootings resulting in 4 or more deaths, excluding gang violence and domestic incidents. Broader definitions tracking all gun violence incidents lower this proportion.
So even at 52 to 55% of the mass shootings in the last decade were committed by them people, right? That's like almost a domestic terrorist status, if you ask me. You know, where's the sovereign property law line at? You know, I mean, we can't go to them. I mean, because they just recently got caught funding white supremacist groups. I mean, their job is to fight against hatred and bigotry, but I mean, the sovereign property law line, and you know, they over there funding white supremacists. I mean, so we can't go to them, right? They need help too. We gotta help them. It's crazy. This is like the decay in the, you know, the decay in the lack of, you know, humanity, should I say, and just, you know, it's fleeing from the Caucasian race, and somebody has to say something, because, I mean, white on white crime is through the roof. I can't turn on the TV, can't watch YouTube without seeing some little young kid throwing his life away by unaliving his fellow classmates because of his upbringing. Because as we're reading about the parents of these future school shooters, they are horrible people, according to the FBI statistics. And they need to be helped, you know? Because, like, we need to fix this thing. We have to fix it like it's a medical issue, like it's a health crisis, you know? Like that, what's that mayor, where he at? I think he in Detroit. Was it Detroit or Philadelphia? That black mayor that fixed the city, you know, turned the city around and got the lowest crime rate ever, right? Because instead of, you know, he attacked it, like, you know, instead of doing the normal, he attacked the problems of the city like it was a health crisis. So that's how we have to do, right? We have to attack white people. We have to attack their nature like it's a health problem, all right? You have to switch it up, because I know you people will click that. Yeah, we gotta help them though. Straight up and down. I'm serious. I gotta take my glasses off to let you know I'm serious, you know? I'm serious, you know? It says, hold on. And it's important because we, being the stewards of this world, you know, it's our job to look out for the others, right? Because they're not able to do it.
FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, BAU, explicitly states that there is no single profile or specific demographic blueprint for a potential mass shooter. Instead of relying on demographic traits,
so they're not even able to even profile these people to try to figure out who's a potential, unaliver. They can't figure these things out until after it happened. And then they start going through their social media and their other stuff and figure like, oh, okay, this person was going through some stuff. But if only we paid attention to little Timmy from the beginning, we can save him from doing these things, right? Crazy.
age, federal threat assessment frameworks focus on observable behavioral indicators and a pathway to violence. Key behavioral signs identified in FBI research include personal crisis or grievance, severe feelings of loss, humiliation, or perceived persecution, leakage/communication, disclosing violent plans, intent, or manifestos to third parties prior to an attack, fixation, escalated or contextually inappropriate interest in past mass attacks, weapons, or violent ideology, pre-attack behaviors, stockpiling weapons, surveying potential targets, or sudden social isolation and agitation.
You know, so, I mean, it's crazy, right? Hold on. So we gotta stop this violence.
Show that around 80% of white murder victims are killed by white offenders, resulting in approximately 2,500 to 3,000 intraracial homicides annually in the U.S.
So, you know, white on white crime is high. 80%? That's the epidemic. 80% of white people that be unalive is 80% done by other whites? Wow, I mean, if we only knew this stuff, we can stop these mass shootings. We can stop this husband from unaliving his wife and kids and even a dog and a goldfish. We can stop them if we knew this stuff. That they, at an 80% clip, is unaliving each other. This is crazy, right? But I mean, we have to help them because they're so focused on black crime. You know, they're putting all their resources on stopping black on black crime, but they obviously have an epidemic amongst themselves that nobody else is seeing, right? This is like some medical discovery that we coming to right now, right? It's crazy. And only they can realize that they need our help. The world would be a better place only if it was for our help. I mean, we helped them so many times before. I know some of you people that might be listening to this, like, what is this guy talking about helping white people, right? But we helped them so many times before. I mean, the Revolutionary War, we helped them with that. The Civil War, helped them with that. World War I, helped them with that. World War II, helped them with that. I mean, we always helping them. So, why not, what's one more? Help them help themselves from destroying themselves. Because they obviously, according to these numbers, and FBI statistics, their own numbers, they have a violent problem. You know, it's like a sickness, right? And it kind of goes back to their forefather, this man right here. And it says this. Genesis 25 and 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, right? And that's what this guy is. He's a cunning hunter, right? Violence is on his mind all the time, right? This guy thinks about killing like you think about what you're about to do in the next 5 minutes, right? Or you think about what you're gonna do for tomorrow, right? It's always on his mind, right? That's why they created something called hunting season, right? Where they have to get licensed to go kill. Because if they didn't create hunting season, they will unalive every dang old animal that it is to unalive, right? They have to take a certain group of animals and build fences around them to protect them from their killing ability and their inherited nature to see something lose its breath, right? So Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents, right? So we like to chill and do some chill, relax stuff. We ain't with all that skydiving, mountain climbing, you know, tornado chasing type of stuff, right? We like to chill, right? But this guy was a cunning hunter, right? And it says, and Esau said, Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. So Jacob was in there cooking, because you know how we do. We like to cook, you know what I'm saying? We in there cooking, and here come this guy. You know they always like our cooking anyway, you know, because we use seasoning and stuff. So he's like, hey, yo, let me get some of that, right? But we wasn't done cooking, right? The meat wasn't done. It was still red, blood still coming out of it, right? But what did this guy say? He said, and it says, and Esau said, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name was called Edom. You know, because he liked eating, you know, bloody meat. You know what I'm saying? Like he liked, you know, to, you know, have blood dripping down the corner of his mouth and all that stuff. You know, they're just animals, right? That's, you know, they can't help it. Right? And it says, and therefore his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, and Edom means red. You're right. That's the one of the Hebrew words for red. So it means red. And it says, and they are red. You know, they're down south. They call them rednecks in certain places, right? Because when the sun hits them, they turn red. You know, they're very colorful creatures when you think about it, right? And it says, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am point to die. What profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob, you know, so then that's what happened. Point is, the man liked bloody meat and he's a hunter, right? Let's get this over here real quick, right? Because we got to understand that they need our help, right? Because they have a violent tendency that just won't stop, right? And it's like I said, it all goes back to their forefather Esau, who we're reading about right now. Genesis 27 and 41. And it says this, and Esau hated Jacob. You know, so they have this hatred way back then. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. So when you understand this, you know, it's not the fact that we're black and they're white and they just hate our black skin. I mean, that could be true. I mean, but it's more so of a spiritual thing because we are the people of God. So their hatred run rapidly through their veins because of that. Because, again, we just read they sold their birthright because they rather have a piece of bloody meat, right? So, and not that God was, you know, when you get into the prophecy, they wasn't never chosen to be the people anyway. It was always us, right? But he sold his birthright for a piece of bloody meat because he's a bloody man, right? And it says, where is it? Boom, boom, boom. It says, and Esau hated Jacob because the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart. So what was he thinking? What was he so angry about? It says, the days of mourning my father are at hand. Because, you know, our forefather Isaac was, you know, he was up in age. You know, he was getting ready to pass on. And, you know, they knew that. So Esau was like, all right, as long as my father alive, you know, I'm not going to do anything, you know, because I don't want to, you know, upset my father and all that stuff, right? But then what did he say? He says, the days of mourning my father are at hand. Then I will slay my brother, Jacob. So it's been in their heart since then to kill us, right? To unalive us, right? It says, And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. So, he was so adamant and so angry at us, and because we got the blessing from God that we are the people that the Most High God is dealing with, and that he's going to have to be a filthy, nasty, disgusting bastard to this day. We just trying to help him, right? To this day, right? So he got angry. And it says, and these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she called to Jacob, her younger son. So she, so Esau's complaining, talking about how he want to unalive every black, Hispanic, Native Indian he see as soon as he get a chance. And she's like, hey, yo, Jacob, you might want to get up out of here. Your brother, he kind of want to kill you. So you got to go. I don't want y'all to be fighting in my house. You know how mama be. You know what I'm saying? I don't want y'all fighting in my house. You know what I'm saying? So you just go ahead and go. Let him cool off. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you go stay with your uncle for a hot second? You know what I'm saying? Y'all go with your uncle Laban for a minute. Right? Because Esau over there tripping. Right? So, and it says, and Rebekah sent and called her son, Jacob her son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee. He do comfort himself, pursuing to kill thee. So, it was on his mind, way back then, right? And they would never ever give that mission up, right? And that's what they on to this day, right? Let's get this real quick. Let's get, let's get, I think I won, what I won. Yeah, 37, Psalms 37 and 12. Right? So these people, we got to help them because they just have wicked intentions always. Because it says, the wicked plot against the just and garnish upon him with his teeth. Right? And gnash upon him with his teeth. So that's how these people are. They're very vicious in their approach. They come, then as soon as they get you, they pounce and they lock in with their teeth. Because they're violence through their military might and their power that they have, right? It says the wicked plotteth against the just, and that's what they do. They come up and they plot and they think and they plan on what to do, right? And because he said way back then that he was going to unalive every black, Hispanic, and Native Indian he saw. Because, in case you don't know, those are the people of God, right? Because it says this is Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, right? So the spirit that these people have is not a righteous, soul, not a righteous spirit, because God didn't create them to be righteous. He created them to be exactly what we see today. That's why we gotta help them. We gotta help them, man. We gotta help them. Right? And it says, behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just should live by faith. Because we are the just, right? And we live by the faith. We don't put our faith in our military and our presidents and our this and that and our material gain, right? We put our faith in the Mashiach Yahushai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, and the Most High God, Yahweh. That's who we put our faith in. Because it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Right? Let's get this one too. Where is it at? I think it's it is it's in I think it's Hosea. Where is it? Hold on. Hold on, find it like that. Practice it. Ain't it? Another photo. Oppress a man in his home. And do it like this. Hold up. Find it just like this. Hold on. Bear with me. I don't know why this phone trying to act slow. That's what I was looking at. Yeah, so. Yeah. Right here. I thought, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So, back over here is, what's that, Psalms? So yeah, let's read it one more time. So now, this is Psalms 37 and 12, right? So it says, the wicked plotteth against the just, and garnish and gnash upon him with his teeth. Right? So they plot against the just. They come up with ways, they think of ways to further oppress the Lord's people constantly, daily, and it, like, again, as we can see from the FBI reports, it ain't gotta be the Lord's people. It can be their own people. Right? Let me tell you how evil the people is. People don't understand. Right? Now, just on a light level, because people might not look at it as bad. But contextually, when you're paying taxes, that is a form of slavery. Debt is slavery. Christ told us that. Christ even told us when you're paying debt to a foreign entity, that is slavery. So, when you're paying taxes, and you say to yourself, well, we all pay taxes, right? We pay taxes. That should let you know how evil these people are. That not only would these people enslave us, and to keep us enslaved and oppressed, they willing to also put their people under a level of subjugation and slavery through their through their tax codes, right? And that's why you have certain of those people that, you know, fight against the powers of the IRS and so forth and all that stuff that they do, right? Because that's, you know, current, technically a new entity, to the government. That wasn't always part of the government branch, right? That was something that I think Roosevelt brought in or something like that. So it wasn't always around. So, so they fight against that stuff because they know that it's slavery, right? But that's how wicked these people are, that they will even oppress their own people, that they will even, create laws that they know that can and will affect the lesser fortunate of their people. But they count that as a casualty of war. They count it as, a loss they're willing to take. That's how they think, right? Because we think that when we see stuff, we think that they don't calculate this stuff. When I used to work in the corporate world with them people, what I found out is this. What we think is like, oh dang, that's a stupid move, or why are they doing that, or don't they know this gonna happen? They thought about all that shit and they cool with it. Okay? That's what I found out from being in the corporate world. When certain things happen and they talk about risks and pros and cons and stuff like that, they think about this stuff. They just don't care, right? So they can convince the poor whites, hey look, although we oppressing you too and robbing you too, but guess what? Them niggas over there, they gonna steal your stuff. And you need to help us, oppress them because, at least you ain't no nigga. Right? Because it could be worse. You could be a nigga. Because think about it. Have you ever ran into a racist homeless person? A racist homeless white guy? Right? And you like, what do you got? You ain't got nothing, right? Or you go down to the South, Middle America, and you find one of them cousin humpers, and they know that they're dirt poor, but one thing they hold on dear to, but at least I ain't no Negro. I might be white and I might be poor, but at least I ain't no Negro. They hold on to that because that's all they got, because that's what their constituents done preached to them and told them. Like, all you got is your whiteness. That's, and they hold on to it. But let's get this real quick. Let's read this one more time. The wicked plotteth against the just and gnash upon him with his teeth. Right? They think about ways of how to further oppress the people. Because it says this, Micah 2:2. They cover fields and take them by violence. In houses they take them away. So they covered fields. They came over here. They saw how beautiful America was. They saw how the Native Americans had it. And they covered it. Right? They went to Australia. Saw how beautiful the Australians had it. They was down there living with the koalas and the kangaroos and shit like that. And they hated it. Right? So they went to South America and also the Caribbeans, and saw how the Arawaks and the Tainos and the Incas and the Mayas and everybody was living. And just had gold everywhere, just gold dust just sprinkle everywhere, right? It didn't even rain. It just rained down gold, just gold just dripping, right? And they hated that, right? And they covered fields and they take them by violence. In houses they take them away. So they oppress a man in his own house. And even a man in his heritage. That's what they do, right? Because they have a conquering spirit. They have a conquering nature about themselves. They can't just be happy in their locale, in their location, right? It's funny, that Boost commercial back in the day, when they had the little old white lady, where you at? Right? Now, although they was trying to call themselves taking our slang, but that's their mindset. That's why they took it and they adapted it and made it part of their commercial and their slogan, because they want to know, where you at? Where you at? Where they can come and steal your shit, right? Take your everything, right? They cover fields and take them by violence. In houses they take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. That's how they get down. That's how they rolling, right? Whether you like it, understand it, believe it or not, right? Back over here. That's good. Let's get Proverbs 1 and 13 real quick. And it says, let's start at 11. Proverbs 1 and 11. And it says this. If they say come with us, let us lay in wait for blood. And that's what these people do. They lie in wait for blood. When they call themselves having a Thanksgiving dinner, right? Because I know in a couple months, a lot of our people is going to be gearing up to have a nice Thanksgiving dinner, right? Not knowing that they celebrating the death and slaughter of their own people. But hey, they do it. And it says, if they say come with us and let us wait for blood, let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. And that's what they do. You know, they unalive people without a cause. You know, all because their instinct just to do it, right? Because they're violent nature, like we read earlier. Esau is a cunning hunter, right? And like it says right here, Genesis 27 and 40. By the sword thou shalt live. And right? So that's their blessing. That's what God gave them to do. That's why they're, in warfare, they're so, so strong in warfare, because they create all these great military weapons and all this stuff. Because that's their mind, right? To do so. To come up with all these different gadgets to unalive people. Because like we read, they are hunting hunters, right? So they will always come up with devices to destroy things. To the point where they came up with a device that can, is basically a planet ender. And they call it a nuclear bomb, right? That thing can end the whole existence of life. And they created that thing to use. Right? That's what we're dealing with, because by the sword thou shalt live. Right? That's how they roll. And it says, let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. So that's how they think on when they go to these different countries. They don't come with diplomatic, intentions. They come there with war in their heart, like the Bible says, right? And it says, and we shall find it all precious substance, and we shall fill our houses with spoil. So that's what they think. They go to these places and they want to rob it and take all the resources from, whatever indigenous people they find, right? That's how they get down. Let's get Proverbs 6 and 14. And it says, a forwardness in his heart, he devised mischief continually. Right? That's what they do. A forwardness in his heart, and he devised mischief continually. Like we just read in Micah, that, let's get it one more time for the people in the back. Micah 2 and 4 says, let's start at the top. It says, woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. So they think about, what to do, and they come up in their little board meetings, and they have these little think tanks, and they have these little secret meetings that they come up with, and it says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. So they just, meaning they're just thinking just coming up with all types of ideas and devices to harm the Lord's people and everyone else. And it says, and when the morning is light, they practice it. So then, after they come up with a good idea to further oppress the people and unalive the people, what it say? They practice it. Because it is in their power of their hand. Because they have the military power. Because they have, the legislation and executive power to make these decisions to do so. Right? Then it says, they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses they take them away, so they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Right? That's how they rolling. Right? Because it just told us, a forwardness in his heart. He devised mischief continually. He soweth discourse. Right? That's what they do. They sow discourse. They go around to every country of the world causing discourse, causing civil unrest. So when you look on the news and you're flipping through channels, you see it protesting and all this stuff, rioting, just know that your local centralized government is in charge of that. It got their hand stirring the pot. You better believe it. Because forwardness in his heart, he devises mischief continually. He soweth discourse. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it. Right? That's what we seeing on the news and social media. Them practicing what they done concocted. Because it is in the power of their hands. Right? That's what they do. Right? What else we got? Let's get Titus 1 real quick, matter of fact. Titus 1 and I think 15. Titus 1 and 15 says this. Unto the pure, all things are pure. Unto the pure, all things are pure, right? So to the Lord's people, we like to keep things holy, keep it pure. We don't want to mix it with the impure, right? It says, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure, right? So these people, they don't look at, anything as holy, right? They don't, what's that? Mount Shasta, right? Mount Rainier, all these different ancient mountains that our Native American brothers had that were sacred mountains to them. Mount Rushmore, right, was a sacred mountain till they hacked it up and put slave owners' faces on it. The greatest slave owners. That's what the Mountain Rushmore is for. People always come up with their Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore is the greatest slave owners. Right? They done carved their favorite slave owners in the mountain. Right? Overlooking the Native American land that they done stole from them and told them they can have, and then they done took some more of it. Right? That's what they do. Right? It says, and like I said, I can't, I feel bad for, I don't even know, I think Mount Shasta is probably the original name, but I know Mount Rainier and some other mountains and stuff over there, they done changed the name to whatever, right? So, they keep nothing holy, right? Keep nothing holy. Look at the Catholic Church. Look at Christianity, period. They keep nothing holy. Nothing holy in Christianity. There's so much profane stuff counter to what the Bible say that goes on in their style of Christianity. Unto the pure, all things are pure. But unto them that are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure. But even their mind and conscience is defiled. Right? Because again, like we read in Habakkuk, the spirit that is lifted up in him is not upright, right? Because the Lord created him to not be a upright vessel, right? And we can get that really quick, in case people don't know. They think we just saying things around here. I mean, we got the FBI statistics telling you how these people really are when they're alone, when they're not at work with you, smiling in your face. So let's get this real quick. Romans 9:21. It says, "Have not the potter have power over the clay, the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another to dishonor?" Right? So when you get into this thing, right, we're going to read it. Matter of fact, I'm just get to the point real quick. So God created these people to be that vessel to dishonor. And he created the Israelites to be that vessel of honor. It says, "Have not the potter have power over the clay, to take that same lump to make one vessel?" That same lump was out of Isaac and Rebekah. Came Jacob and Esau. But what happened though? It says, out of that same lump, one vessel to honor. So he created the Israelites to be his special people to honor, right? Like it tells us right here, real quick. Can we get it? Deuteronomy 7:6 tell us like this. It says, "For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people upon the face of the earth," right? So that's what he did for the Israelites, because it just told us, have not the potter have power over the clay. In this context, the potter is Christ. I mean, the potter is the Most High God. And if you're familiar with making statues and vases and stuff like that, the person, they curate the thing on a wheel, and they, can design it how they want to design it, right? Because it tells us the potter have power over the clay, of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another to dishonor. That's what he did, right? Let's jump all the way up though, because you might be lost in the context, right? Because you gotta understand, we read Habakkuk that he put the spirit in him not upright. He created him to not be a righteous person, right? And we just read over here, "Have not the potter have power over the clay, to make the same lump one vessel to honor and another to dishonor?" Let's jump up to 11. "For the children not being yet born, neither having not done any good nor evil." Going right back down to 21. "Have not the potter have power over the clay?" So God can do whatever the heck he wants. Back up to 11. "For the children not being yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to the election," right? The election is what he already thought of, his plan, the script that he already written out in his head. Like, this is my movie, this is how it's going to play out. These is going to be the good guys, these are going to be the bad guys, these are going to be the extras, these are going to be, this and that, right? So he already written it out, because it told us right here that the purpose of God according to the election might stand, right? So whatever he already concocted already, because it says, "Have not the potter have power over the clay?" And it says that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. So it's not what you do or don't do. God already decided that these people are going to be the evilest, wickedest, the worst people to leave your kids around people ever, right? He already decided that, because it says, "For the children not yet being born, neither have it done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth." Right? So he decided that I'm going to make these people the way that they are. Like it just told us over here, again, let's get it for the people in the back. Like it told us right here, it says, "Behold, his soul," this is Habakkuk 2:4, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him," right? Because have not the potter have power over the clay, the same lump to make one vessel to honor and another to dishonor, right? Why did he do that? It says, "For this was the word of the promise, at this time will I come to Sarah, will I come and Sarah shall have a son. And not this, but Rebekah also conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. Right? And it was said unto her, the elder should serve the younger. Right? So he's pissed off about that he gotta serve these black folks. Right? That's why he hate the idea that Jesus being black. That's why every chance he get, he make white images of Christ. Every chance he get. It says, it was said to her, the elder should serve the younger. And as it is written, because it's written in the book of Malachi, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, which is the Israelites, the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So God hates these people, and it's evident, right? And so we gotta help them. We gotta help them, man. We gotta help them. We gotta help straighten them out, you know? Because if we don't stop them, we all in trouble. Gotta say the kids, right? Back over here. And they can't help it, you know, because let's get Ezekiel 25 real quick. Start at Ezekiel 25 and 12. Right? And it says, thus said the Lord God, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore thus said the Lord God, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and I will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and them of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Right? So these people, man, they, you know, God got it in for them because of they took vengeance on the Lord's people, and they were so vicious in doing so. Right? Very vicious in doing so, and how they was moving. Right? And so these people, man, they just gotta understand that they have an inherent criminalistic blood, you know, that just won't go away unless they have to acknowledge it themselves, right? So think of this as an intervention. This is like a white intervention. This is an intervention for white people to stop the violence, right, against yourselves and everyone else, right? Because 80% of white on white crime, woo, that's a high number, right? That is an epidemic, if you ask me, right? And it's just sucked because, I mean, what they gonna do? They have no role models, right? Because the person they looking up to could be a potential killer. Who knows? I mean, that's their uncle, that's their brother, that's their grandfather. You never know. So it's hard. So we got to sympathize with them, because obviously white people are not sympathizing with other white people. Because if they were, they would stop this. All this stuff that we read about what they do to themselves, it's crazy, right? They're focusing on the wrong issues. You know, they're focusing on the wrong demographic. They're putting like police, you know, in the wrong areas of the country. They need to really focus on and zero in on white suburbia, middle America, right? That's where they need to focus all that energy at, to save those people from themselves, to stop a potential, to stop a potential tragic event, right? It's crazy. So And it's just crazy because let's check it out. Because they just have bad structure, when it comes to upbringing. That
The usual part of his childhood is how he's raised. He's adopted.
So this is Ted Bundy, right? One of white America's sweethearts, Ted Bundy.
Part of his childhood is how he's raised. He's adopted by his grandparents. He's raised alongside a person who he is told is his sister.
But she wasn't. She was actually his mother.
This arrangement went on for almost 4 years, with Ted's grandparents as his main carers.
His grandfather was quite a violent character, so that suggests to me that very early on in his life, he's almost...
So his grandfather was a violent character. He's already being raised backwards to think that his mom is his sister and his grandparents is his actual parents. And then he's getting abused on top of that. Bad parenting all around.
a bit of a survival mode. What we've got happening here is this resentment brewing.
Bundy dropped out of university in 1968. The following year, he returned to the East Coast in what he later described as a bid to understand his roots.
He discovers that the woman that he's considered to be his sister for his whole life is actually his mother.
The two most important women to him, in essence, both deny and abandon him. The significance to him of that is that women simply cannot be trusted. The unusual...
So then this man developed a hatred towards women, and we know the history of this guy, what he did, right? So we have to help these people. That he was once a young little white Christian child growing up in that white household, right? And had his innocence taken away because, again, like we read in the FBI statistics, that white fathers are very violent and unsafe to be around, right? And we could have helped this guy, right? So we could have helped him, but we had only looked at the signs and learned how to actually profile and police, heavy military style police, white people, right? Only, right? Son of Sam.
And that's why you killed them. Right. Like, not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Nonetheless, you killed 7 men.
Yes, you did.
I'm asking you, what got you to kill the 7 men?
And I'm telling you because the cops let me keep killing them, Nick. Don't you get it?
Not everybody is killing 7 people.
Why on earth did you hurt those people? Why did you kill those people? No comments. I cannot answer it at this time.
See, you gotta watch out for these people, because, and that's why we need heavy policing. We need stop and frisk in white suburbia heavily. To protect them, of course, right? This is to save and protect them, to make them safe, make white America safe again, right? Because it's not safe, it ain't safe, right? Remind me of that Paul Mooney joke, when Paul Mooney was like talking about, he's like, when the white serial killers, he was like, and they get arrested and be getting interviewed, he says, "Mr. Crazy White Man, why you go and kill everybody?" He's like, "I don't know, I just want to see how they look dead," right? And that's what reminded me of that last person. That was the son of Sam right there that was speaking. When he asked him, "Why did you kill all those people?" He said, "No comment." It's almost the same thing as, "I don't know, just want to see how they look dead." So this is the mind of these people, and as we can see, that is very deprived, and it needs to be helped some type of way. We need to encourage them to not be so violent. We need to give them another avenue to release their anger, to where they're not unaliving their whole family, even a dog and a goldfish, right? And, you know, or going to a public place and harming whoever they see, right? We need to stop these things from occurring, right? Like Smokey the Bear said, only you can prevent forest fires, right? So this is an intervention, right? Because we you know, trying to help them, right? Somebody got to, like Tupac said, I care if nobody else cared, right? We gotta help them, right?
My jealous best friend shaved my hair and laughed hard. Freak, don't you know unnatural hair?
On the 1st of April 1990, Arizona State Trooper Michael Miller pulled to the side of Interstate 10 in Casa Grande to inspect a parked truck. When he peered through the windows of the cab, he couldn't believe what he saw. The face of a petrified woman chained up like an animal. He immediately handcuffed the truck driver and put him into his patrol car.
So this man kidnapped some woman and got her chained up in his truck like an animal, the guy said.
To the side of Interstate 10 in Casa Grande to inspect a parked truck. When he peered through the windows of the cab, he couldn't believe what he saw. The face of a petrified woman chained up like an animal. He immediately handcuffed the truck driver and put him into his patrol car.
I think he was probably thinking, how am I going to get out of this? What do I do now?
She went back to bed. Running back. I think that's about as far as I go now.
Michael didn't know it yet, but he'd apprehended a cold-blooded serial killer, Robert Ben Rhodes.
He is without doubt one of the most dangerous men ever to have stalked the American highway.
For over a decade, Rhodes had been raping, torturing and killing vulnerable women across the country. But he'd remained completely undetected.
I think that...
Remained completely undetected. Like we just heard earlier from the FBI crime statistic, that it's hard to profile and detect these people, right? Because again, well, we know that they don't spend a resource. The same profiling, racial profiling, and stop and frisking they do in the black neighborhoods. Only if they apply that same care, that same, you know, that same, you know, will and care in the white suburbia, right? Then we can curb some of this violence that we're seeing from them. Right?
Rhodes is probably the most evil person I've ever met in my life. And I've met a lot of evil people.
The police were only just discovering the gruesome crimes of Robert Ben Rhodes, one of the world's most evil killers.
You know, so that's what we got. You know, you got record-breaking unalivers that's just, you know, getting Guinness book record labels. You know, being the world's greatest, world's worst, you know, killer. That's crazy, right? But that's what we're dealing with, and that's why it's important to, you know, see the warning signs, right? To help, you know, and stop a potential, you know, massive tragedy, you know, from taking place. Because these people are incapable of stopping these things. Because they don't even know when they're going to do it themselves, right? It's almost like, you know, so what's that game, Gopher? When you go to the carnival, the little thing that pop the head up out the little thing, you got to hit it back down. We got to treat them like that, right? We got to play a big game of Gopher with these people, right? Just knock them down. Whenever we see a potential unaliver, lock them down and lock them up, right? Knock them down and lock them up, right? Put them in that building thing that they put people at, right? And keep them there. Right? That's what needs to be done.
You know, and all. David Sirota and Don Lemon were on CNN earlier this week talking about the shooting, specifically an interesting racial angle on these sorts of mass shootings. Let's listen to David Sirota.
Why is America 30% white guys and 70% of the shootings in the last many decades have been at the hands of white guys? I'm not saying we should racially profile white guys, but I do think it's interesting to...
I think we should definitely racially profile white guys. Dude might be onto something. And this is a white guy talking here, people. And he think that white people should be racially profiled.
Why is America 30% white guys and 70% of the shootings in the last many decades have been at the hands of white guys? I'm not saying we should racially profile white guys, but I do think it's interesting to note that had 70% of mass shooters been, let's say, Arabs or African American men, I think the conversation right now would be a very different conversation where we'd be having a much less nuanced, a much uglier conversation.
Do you know this is the feeling you get when you know you say something totally smart and then nobody responds to it? Well, I had it when we had this conversation the day after.
Yeah.
And I thought I deserved the start of a conversation. Like, what if these guys were Arab? Like, then the whole thing everything would be different. And what David does incredibly well is he doesn't purport to say what that conversation would be, just acknowledge that
there would be
everything would be different because there'd be these crazy Arab terrorists killing our children.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the reaction that Sirota has gotten for saying that. You know, it was met with a lot of awkwardness and like, I'm not sure that's the kind of thing you should be bringing up, and what are you trying to intimate about white people? No, but you heard him. He's not saying that. He's white. He doesn't believe you should actually racially profile white people.
You should
but he's saying if it was Arabs, as Ben pointed out on the first day, and we talked about, of course there would be a mass hysteria over, oh my God, which Middle Eastern country do we invade? And you know, terrorism run amok, double Guantanamo. I mean, there's no question about that. And if it was African Americans, you think they wouldn't use words like gangbangers and, you know, and all the racially coded words, etc. And then, you know, this gets into one of my pet peeves that I've been talking about a lot lately, which is this idea that, you know, David is alluding to there, which is, you know, well, if it was black folks, you know how blacks are violent. That's the stereotype, right? But how come that stereotype doesn't exist for white people who massacred the Native Americans in this country, who enslaved black people, who did lynchings, who did the Klan?
Germans also white, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. And, I mean, if you're talking about broader white people, World War I, World War II, the Inquisition, the Crusades, and then the slaughter of the South American Native Americans.
The 100 Years' War.
And the list goes on and on, but black people are violent.
I honestly don't even think you need to go as like politically charged as talking about Muslims or if it was African Americans. If it was Chinese men, if it was white women that shot up dead 4 mass shootings in a row, I think that would be major news too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
any group other than white males would be news.
Well, I mean, first of all, the shooting itself it's not like people didn't cover it. I mean,
no, but I'm saying that angle would be covered if it was women or if it was Chinese men. If it was anyone other than white men, I think that the labels would be applied.
So there's a couple of phenomena.
And that's the thing, and that's the problem we're having. That's what brings us here today to this intervention to help white people. Help white people. You know, we're helping white people help white people right now. Because only if they do racially profile white people, only if they do stop and frisk on white people, only if they do put heavy military type style policing in their neighborhoods, maybe this type of behavior will cease to exist. We can live in a peaceful country. You don't have to worry about a white male losing his shit and going around killing everything. You know, that's something to think about. You know, so we shouldn't just look past this and like, we'll get around to it. No, we need to figure out how to stop white people from how could we that little Sarah, little Dustin, how are we gonna protect them and have them grow up to be productive human beings instead of being destructive human beings like they've been producing? Right?
So we all roughly agree to that, right? But it's not like there'd be hysteria about women, watch out for women, but they would talk so much about, like, why are women doing this?
Pat Robertson.
Right, you know, what is it about women?
Right,
Whereas,
because they're not at home.
Right.
They need to be they need to stay at home, not spend so much time in the workplace. They don't have the capacity for
and
that.
of course,
being stretched like that. Yeah.
Right, and of course the right wingers would come out and say that biologically they're different, whereas we never have conversations about how men are biologically different, which in fact we are. We're far more violent than women. And so that's why the prisons are filled with men, right? And we do a great majority of the violent crime, etc. But part of the reason is because that's the normal. We're used to that, right? So now, David thinks it also has to do with the concept of white entitlement. Let's let him explain that.
It's an important question in light of a political climate right now where there's a lot of what I've called the white victimization narrative out there. This idea that white people are being kept down, this idea that white people are being oppressed. Does this have anything to do with this? I think it's worth asking the question. I hope that the next time something...
And white people are getting oppressed. White people are being oppressed by other white people, and it has to stop now, today. White people need to stop oppressing other white people and make white people safe again. Stop touching your daughters, white people. Stop unaliving your sons, white people. Stop unaliving people in general, white people. Right? We have to... Yes.
Unfortunately, there will be a next time that if it's not a white guy, that we remember that we shouldn't ascribe to entire groups the actions, the bad actions of individuals, because we're not doing that right now. And I'm not saying that we should, but we should remember the reason we're not is because it's a form of white privilege.
And of course, for example, with Nidal Hasan.
And that white man that's trying to also save other white people, and God bless his soul, because he trying to do his part to save his people, right? He is exactly correct. The reason why they don't stop and frisk and racially profile and have a profile on these potential unalivers and family annihilators is because of white privilege, right? The reason why Jeffrey Dahmer can do what he did for so long and neighbors don't think anything about it because of white privilege. The reason why what happened, the little person he had, the little guy that he was trying to unalive and he did eventually because the guy ran away. And then, you know, I think it was a Mexican brother, and I believe it was, I don't know if he was up age, but whatever. He runs away, and because he drugged up or whatever, right? He runs into the police, and then white privilege kicked in when Jeffrey Dahmer pulled up and say, "Hey, this is my, my little boy thing, and we just got into a fight, whatever. Woo. You know the story what Jeffrey told the police, and then white privilege said, "Hey, okay, well you guys take it back where you came from." Now, ignoring the total fact that this young Mexican boy is shooken out of his mind, drugged out of his mind because Jeffrey done doped him up with something, and he's scared, and he sent them right back to that vicious murderer cannibal, right? Because of white privilege, said, hey, he's okay, right? I said this last time. If Jeffrey Dahmer had a few Glade plugins, a few little air wicks that's hanging around, get him little car fresheners, he would have been good. Because when they interviewed his neighbors, they all thought he was just a good, swell guy, right? Because, like he just said,
what
did he say?
Next time, that if it's not a white guy, that we remember that we shouldn't ascribe to entire groups the actions, the bad actions of individuals, because we're not doing that right now, and I'm not saying that we should, but we should remember that the reason we're not is because it's a form of white privilege.
And of course, for example, with Nidal Hassan, there's still...
And white privilege is a detriment to white people. Because of white privilege, they're going to get more school shooters. Because of white privilege, they're going to get more mass murderers. Because of white privilege, they're going to get more fathers unaliving their whole families, even a dog and a goldfish, too. Because of white privilege.
Oh, look at that. That's how Muslims are. And he, betrayed us at Fort Hood, etc. Well, did Jared Loughner betray us? Did the Connecticut killer betray us?
Did I don't remember his name, did the American sergeant in Afghanistan who killed all those children, right? And he was white.
Right. And so, I think it's a very fair and interesting conversation to have, not, again, for the third time, not to blame white people. And by the way...
We're definitely blaming white people.
And to clarify every time, in case people are confused, the most obvious thing in the world. Just because white people in the past did slavery, the Holocaust, etc., doesn't mean you did it, okay? You got nothing to do with that, right? But what we're saying is, the next time it's a black guy or an Arab guy, don't make those assumptions, because they're not warranted. Look at the record of who's actually doing the killings.
There are times, of course, to look at...
And that's what we did. We look at the records of who's actually doing the killings. We look at the FBI crime statistics and see who's actually doing the killings, right? Because they're so hyper-focused on the black and brownies that they're neglecting the fact that they are doing the killings, right? So that's why we have to eliminate white privilege so they can take those blinders off and help themselves, right? And it says this.
And how race affects behavior and what we can learn sociologically and so forth. But, skin pigmentation has never made anyone do anything.
See? And so that's why we need to help and support them, right? And because it's crazy, because what are we to do? Because if we allow white privilege to run rapid, it's gonna destroy everything that white people built for themselves, right? And I don't know why they can't see it. They don't see it. I mean, jeez. Let's go here real quick, because you need to understand this, because they're so let's get this real quick, because they're just violent people, and it's hard to be around them because you don't know when that violence is going to just explode and be unleashed on you, right? Check this out. And this white soldier for the white cause is trying to help his brethren and help those that are affected by the crimes of his brethren. Let's listen.
No foul play. White people, when are we going to start protecting black people? I'm being so serious because that's the 5th lynching in 2 months that they've caught.
And that's crazy, And it's going to be hard because he's calling for white people to protect black people. Okay, we do need protection. Yeah, we do. Yeah, people tripping. But y'all got to protect yourself as well. Because, now again, he's a white soldier trying to fight the white cause and get white people back on track, you know. So let's hear what he got to say.
No foul.
You know, because he's speaking about the tendencies and the foulness that his people have. And he's like, yo, we got to not be like this. So, yeah, check it out.
When are we going to start protecting black people? I'm being so serious because that's the 5th lynching in 2 months that they've called no foul play. Tasia was hung up so high that they needed a fire truck to get her down. And they're saying no foul play. I can't be crying. Gerard was hung behind a police station. No foul play. Tanya hung at a park. No foul play. Juliana hung at a church. No foul play. Soraya hung behind a Dollar Tree. No foul play. Nolan Wells. No foul play. Trey Reed. No foul play. Kyle Basica. No foul play. Do you know a lot of black people that love playing with knots? I mean, so do you know black people that fucking play with ropes and climb trees? We're going to need to start getting violent for our black brothers and sisters. And I mean like really violent. Like I'm not talking about just like, where are you? Paige's body's going to the same medical examiner that Nolan Wells' family's still fighting. The Trey Reed's family.
Have you ever wondered where the best place to fight someone one-on-one is?
Yeah, man. Putting ads and stuff on her now, they crazy.
Families, you know, go to these trials that aren't even real. While it lets people like Jesse, a kid who raped 2 girls, he broke one of their necks. His mom heard them in the room, and he didn't. People like Jesse, a kid who raped. We're going to need to start getting violent for our black brothers and sisters. And I mean like really.
And we need their act of violence. I'm not calling for violence. He's calling for violence. But knowing their nature and how violent they can get, if they can take that, if they can manage to harness that superpower of violence and put it towards the black fight against their people that is, you know, against their white brothers that is, you know, causing this thing. I mean, hey, do what you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you could do that, you know, more power to you. I'm not gonna stop you from doing it, right? So,
like, I'm not talking about just like.
Hold on, real quick.
Where are you? Paige's body's going to the same medical examiner that Nolan Wells' family is still fighting. The Trey Reed's family is still fighting. It's a system designed to bury these kids while it makes their families, you know, go to these trials that aren't even real. While it lets people like Jesse, a kid who raped 2 girls, he broke one of their necks. His mom heard them in the room, and he didn't spend 1 day in jail. He's going to LSU. Nothing happened to him. It's just like Bart. His dad's like a football guy. They're rich as hell. And, you know, did you know that Nolan Wells' best friends, obviously the ones who killed him, are using Trump's defense attorney? I mean, for a drowning, right? Because they're withholding all the... And that's why they were withholding the information in the autopsy, giving them enough time to go through all this and let them know what they had on them so they could prepare. Do you understand that this is the thing that the South does over and over and over again at this point? I'm just begging white people at this point because I don't even know what else. I don't know what else to do. They need a race war before they need a world war. That's how this works. They need a reaction, but it has to be from us. It has to be from us this time, okay? They just showed us. They're showing us.
Yes, it has to be from you, white man. Galvanize your people to do what you people do.
Just invited another teenage girl over who had epilepsy, who was pregnant, and they drugged her, and then they planned on murdering her and then burying her. But if she could defend herself like Carmelo Anthony, they wouldn't start that trial until there was an all-white jury. There'd be no justice. And if she can't defend herself, they're going to treat her like Cyrus Carmack Belton, and then Rick Child's just going to get to walk. The good old days are not coming back, okay?
That's what you got to understand. When you're dealing with these people, it's 2 things you're going to either be. You're either going to be Carmelo Anthony or Nolan Wells, right? When you're dealing with these people, right? And you better off being Carmelo Anthony than Nolan Wells when you're dealing with these people. And their own constituent is telling you that these people are dangerous.
Sure of it. I just need to know who my allies are. I need to know where y'all are at. Because this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. It just is. And we see it. This is happening every week. We're being reminded of this shit. Okay? So, have a nice day. This is just a chill call to violence. Just a chill call. No, relax, algorithms. Remember, white people are not scary. We only go after women and children. That's it. Historically, we only kill women and children. We do not go after men because we get our asses kicked. So just stay armed and aim high. Okay, have a good day.
Interesting, that last part, because when you get into their ancestor Amalek, that's the reason why the Most High God is mad at Amalek to this day, because they only attack women and children. When you get into that, right? The story of when we left out of Egypt and got attacked by those Amalekites. Interesting. So, so even their white brother in crime is calling for their, for them to bridle their violence, and instead of, and instead of, harming black people, bridle their violence to curb some of this stuff that they're doing, that they're exuberating, right? That's a good white soldier for the white cause, to make white America great again, right? Because we gotta understand, right? Let's get
And Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad and all.
What do you do if you get lost?
All that, they said that that's what they're going to make you out of. But it's not going to happen. Now you're out of, but it's not.
So they need us, right? Because they're in dire need of some type of guidance and help, right? Because the Bible tells us this. Proverbs 29:2. It says this: when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So we know that these people are currently running the planet. And we see how they're running this planet. It's hell on earth. And that's why it tells us when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Right? And that's what we're witnessing right now. We're witnessing mourning. Right? People are not happy because of how they're governing this planet, because of their violent tendencies that they can't bridle, to the point where, not only are they hurting other people, they're hurting themselves, damn it. They hurting themselves. They hurting themselves, damn it. Right? That's what they doing. So, you gotta help them. Let's get this real quick. It's 2 Ezra 11:45. It says this: therefore appear no more, thou eagle, thou horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malice head. Because America always represent themselves as the eagle. Not just America, but, and it says wherefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings. Because these people are horrible in their doings and how they conduct themselves. It says, nor wicked feathers, and then their executive branches where they come up with these ideas and push their legislation. It says, nor thy malice hedge, nor thy hurtful claws, nor thy vain body, right? It says, all that the earth may be refreshed. So when these people are taken out of power, the earth will be refreshed, because it just told us that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. The people mourn. So the earth may be refreshed and may return being delivered from thy violence. Because we have to be, not only I know we spent time talking about saving white people from white people, but we all need to be delivered from thy violence. It says, that all the earth may be refreshed and may return being delivered from thy violence. Because the whole earth is suffering from thy violence. Because it tells us, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And we know who's running this planet, and we see the conditions of this planet, and the people are in mourning. You have death, you have famine, you have low quality of life in many places, right? Polluted water, polluted air. A lot of stuff is going on under the stewardship of these people, right? And it says, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn, right? And that's who's got this place, the wicked. Let's get this real quick. Romans 1:31. And it say this. It says, Romans 1:31, without understanding, covenant breakers. Right? And that's what these people are. They're covenant breakers. You can't make a deal and hash it out with them because they are covenant breakers. Ask your nearest Native American about it. They are covenant breakers. Right? I mean, shoot, we can ask the Iranians that they are covenant breakers. The whole fight is happening because these people are covenant breakers. When Trump got into office in 2016, he was a covenant breaker. He broke the covenant that Obama and Secretary Kerry, I believe, had put together with those people. But don't try, we came in, it's not a good deal, folks. We'll never take the deal. We'll never did, I'm gonna rip it up. And he did that because he's a covenant breaker. And because he's a covenant breaker, they're fighting to this day. Right? It says, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection. They don't have natural affection. They don't look at that stuff that went on in Gaza and be like, oh, that's horrible. How could they do that to a whole, basically genocide a whole group of people nationally on a goddamn globe, and nobody has nothing to say about it, right? We witnessed genocide, right? I didn't know about Rwanda and the stuff that was going on in Rwanda to that movie, what's it called? Traitor came out with a Don Cheetah. I think that's what it is. Is it Traitor or another movie? No, it's the Rwanda. You know the movie. I don't know if that's the same movie, but y'all know what I'm talking about. The movie with the Rwanda thing. I didn't know nothing about that until they came out years later about the movie thing, right? But we witnessed this. We're seeing this on, all over social media and everywhere, and nobody is saying nothing, right? Because it says, without natural affection, implacable and unmerciful, right? That's how these people roll. That's how they get down. Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. And we know the judgment of God. We know what God do to the wicked. We know the punishment of God. So they obviously don't know, or they obviously don't care. Because without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable and merciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, but not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So not only do they promote wickedness and promote anti-God stuff, they, encourage other people to do the same. And they get, when they see you doing wicked and see you doing evil, that makes them feel good inside. Because they are inherently wicked people. And they can't help it. Right? That's why I just told us. Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Right? So they love the evil. Right? They can't stop the evil. They are part of the evil. They endow with the evil. They in love with the evil. Right? That's how they get down. They can't stop. Won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller, baby, get down, baby, get down. Right? Let's get this real quick. Ecclesiastes, real quick. Boom, 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 10 and 1. 1. So it says this. Ecclesiastes 10 and 1. It says, a wise judge will instruct his people. In the government of the prudent, a man is well ordered. So a leader of the people will instruct the people to do well, to do good, that will influence the people to do well and to do good, right? You can always, this is, and I always picked up this trick from listen to this person that used to, I guess, be in the army. He was just talking about how, they inspect Navy ships and all that stuff, right? So you can always tell the leaders what the leadership is like by what the people that follow are. If the people that follow are a certain type of way and they carry themselves a certain type of way, then you can kind of imagine what the leadership is like. If the people are together, they on point, they're professional, they about business, then you know that whoever over them is professional and about business, right? Easy to tell, right? So it says, a wise judge will instruct his people, in the government of the prudent, a man is well ordered, right? That's, you got you a good president that's, good with the people, know what he's doing. That's going to filter down to the rest of society. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are they that dwell therein. Right? So, what manner we just said it. When you can tell how the leadership is by the people that's under the leadership, right? So now, example, this is my observation. When Obama was president, like contextually, the country was in a, just speaking from an observational point, if you know, you know. But the country was in a different space, right? And because Obama was well-mannered, it wasn't like, didn't have no type of bad temper or nothing like that. It was well-spoken and, behaved himself well in public. So his behavior kind of filtered down to society, how people treated each other, versus in 2016 and beyond, when Donald J. Trump came down the escalator and said, the Mexicans are rapists, they're bringing drugs, they're criminals, and I assume some of them are good people, right? And it's like, from that day forward, the whole country just got down on Mexicans and brown people and blacks, and his temperament filtered down to the rest of the country. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, we're not saying the country wasn't racist and acting all crazy before, but let's read this one more time. As the judge of the people is himself, and so are the officers. In what manner of men the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein. So when he became president, these white supremacists, these people that naturally have affection, for, that affection that they have that for white supremacy, they felt emboldened to to say certain things, to act out certain things, right? A lot of racial hate crimes and stuff picked up, because what matter of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein. So these people are wicked, disgusting, filthy, people, because their leadership is enumerate all of those different qualities, and it filter down to them, right? Horrible people, right? Horrible people, very bad, right? Europe is not sending their best. Europe is not sending their best, folks. Europe, they're sending conquerors, they're sending murderers, grapers, unalivers, and I assume some of them are good people, right? That's what's happening here. We gotta understand that. Where are we at with this thing? Let's go back over here. We're trying to help somebody, right? So, because you gotta understand, we're pretty cool, pretty good at a lot of stuff, And once white people realize that their safety is in the hands of the black and brown people, because like we just read, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, right? So these people, like, long as they can take the blinders off, take the white supremacist, the white privilege blinders off, and only if they can see that their salvation, their help comes from a black man, a Hispanic man, a Native Indian man, that's what's going to save the condition of white people. That's going to pull them out of their depravity, their sexual deviancy, their overall just horrible way of being, right? Because they're going to have structure. Because as the man of the Lord, we're going to, make them do what the Most High God required. And that is to serve. If you know, you know. And the only thing they have to realize that not only do black people love America more than white people, that's a fact, because we fought in all their wars. We're trying to assimilate in everything that they do, right? We're very good at we protect white people more than white people protect themselves, because it's a well-known fact. If a white person is walking in the hood at 9 o'clock at night or whatever, and they have a backpack or a briefcase, they're the safest person in America. We know that, right? So we always love to protect white people. We do things, right? And only if they can recognize that they don't have to live the way they live, because they can put their life in the hands of a black and brown man. We got it, you can bring those white children over here to us. We'll protect those white children, because you white parents is not able to protect them like you should. You're raising monsters, right? And they thought they were smart. They got rid of the DUI stuff, right? And they tried to make it seem like, because it was unqualified people. But you gotta understand, again, we love white people over here. We believe in protecting white people, right? And because we believe in protecting white people, we should only be the pilots, right? We should only fly the planes, because it's killing white people to fly planes. White people suffer at a high rate of skin cancer, right? Because of them planes, right? Check this out.
No.
No, wait, that ain't it. Where it at? Where it at? See, we gotta help them out.
Studies show that pilots have roughly twice the rate of melanoma compared to the general population. This increased risk stems from higher exposure to ultraviolet UVA rays through cockpit windows at high altitudes, cosmic radiation, and circadian rhythm disruption. Because individuals with fair skin are naturally more susceptible to sun damage, white pilots face a particularly high risk.
See, we should fly the planes. You know, Charlie Kirk was talking about he get worried when he see a black pilot. You should get worried when you see a white pilot because he gonna die from cancer. Right? So, we should fly the planes. Right? So, because they're obviously not capable of flying planes because after they did the whole DUI thing, planes start falling out the sky left and right. Because, I mean, shoot, how can they fly planes? They're concentrating on their skin cooking because they got cancer. So they're crashing, right? So we should fly these planes, right? We should be the police officers because their police is not able to police white people. Their white privilege, their blinders is enabling them to see the criminality in their own people. So we should police white people, right? Because they're not able to police themselves. Look at the stuff that they're doing, right? So they need our help more than ever, right? And it's good that white people know that they need our help more than ever, right? Because this white lady spoke like a true champ. Like she knew what was going on, and we need more white people to teach their kids this stuff, right? We need to teach white children this, right? This is what all white children across America need to know. This right here, right?
What do you do if you get lost?
Find a big black guy.
You find a big black guy, and what do you tell him?
Come on.
What do you do?
This white lady is teaching her daughter, I believe that's a daughter, that if she ever get lost, find you a black man to save you, right? That's what she's telling her, right? We need more white parents to teach their kids this. Like, if you ever in trouble because of white people, go find you a black person.
Find a big black.
What do you do if you get lost?
Find a big black guy.
You find a big black guy, and what do you tell him?
And that I lost.
That you're lost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I find my home.
Okay.
Oh, do I need to tell you there's a bunch of white people really upset about that video? Stitching it, duetting it in the comments. Oh, this is racist. Actually, if you want to be real about it, statistically, based on the data, any child would be safer approaching a strange black man than they would a strange white man. So let's look at some numbers. Convictions of possessing images of children. White people, 86%, while black make up only 4%. I'd say white people damn near cornered the market. And when you talk about assault of a child, the numbers are a little bit different, but white people still excel. 42% are white, 18% are black, but I feel these numbers might be skewed. For example, Hispanic make up 10% of the abuse. They also make up 10% of the possession of images, so those seem to be pretty close to each other, while these other numbers are way off. Now factor in that black people are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of a serious crime, including that kind of assault, than white people are. Then think about all of the priests that the Catholic Church hid and protected and moved around. All of the pastors that we've recently found out the Southern Baptists were protecting. Think about all of the well-respected white.
What do you do if you get lost?
Find a big black guy.
You find a big black guy, and what do you tell him?
And that I lost.
That you're lost?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to teach the white children these days. If you're in trouble, find a black guy to help you. Those are your superheroes, right? White children, any white children out there listening, if you're listening, you're white children, black people are your superheroes. They can save you from your demonic, devilish, sadist parents, right? You know, go find the nearest black man to protect you, to save you, right? That's what you do, right? Because she knows the truth. Not only do she knows the truth, white America knows the truth, right? They just good at hiding and keeping it secret, and they don't want to, to come out and and deal with the scandals. But that's what we're here. That's why we're having this intervention, right? We're helping white people today, right? We're helping them today help themselves, right? Because this good Christian white man by the name of Tim Tebow would tell you something like this. But before, let's get this real quick.
Her name was Judith Barcy. Judith Barcy was one of the most dangerous places for white people is within a white family. If you're a millennial like me, you probably remember this movie, All Dogs Go to Heaven. And you probably also remember this movie, The Land Before Time. Well, the little girl that was the voice actress for Ducky and Anne Marie, her name was Judith Barcy. Judith Barcy was a child actor that had a very promising career, but her life was tragically cut short by that man right there, her father, Joseph Barcy. Judith Barcy's father, Joseph, is one of the many white men that would be considered a family annihilator. A family annihilator is an individual, usually a white male, that takes the lives of multiple members of their family. These family annihilators usually have a history of domestic violence or abuse within their family. According to psychologists, the common characteristics of these family annihilators.
Listen up, what you need is more protein. Get some protein, big boy.
There you go.
That's mimicking our nutritional expert, Christian.
Are overwhelmingly male, have little to no criminal history, and are white. And Judith Barcy's father, Joseph, perfectly fit this description of a family annihilator. It was reported that there was severe domestic violence and abuse that went on in their household, so much so that it worried the manager and talent agents of little Judith Barcy. But no one took the initiative to step in and investigate and rescue this little girl and her mother. And subsequently, this man took the life of his daughter, his wife, and then himself. To the Caucasian community out there, this is yet another cautionary tale that you should start to focus on your own families and police your own neighborhoods and people instead of focusing on blacks and Hispanics and our families and our community.
Think about that. We did not get another part 2 of All Dogs Go to Heaven because of this bastard decided to kill his whole family. That's crazy. I like that movie. That was a good, funny movie as a kid.
Because the call is coming from inside the house.
Crazy, right? So we have to stop them. We have to help them stop themselves, right? And because very dangerous place to be for a child is in a household of white parents, right? And that's FBI statistics is telling us these things. Right? Crazy. Right? And let's get this good, where I was going to go, this good white Christian, maybe he can further explain it and make us understand, where it at. Because this is very crazy. It's right here. This is and before we get a message from our good white Christian, let's even the Shelamites is dangerous and vicious. right? And you know, we all gotta do our part in protecting these people, right?
Team, what's the best high income skill?
This is blood.
No, it's not. It was deer meat.
It smells like the death in there.
So now this white lady gets pulled over by the police. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. She has a dismembered body of a child in her trunk that they done found, right? And it's her child that she done did this to, right?
Blood. Yeah, but people don't have bullet holes and blood, and it smells like death in your car. So, like, there's a huge blood splatter. How did that happen?
On May 20th, 2022, in Mound, Minnesota, a bizarre traffic stop reveals an unimaginable secret hiding in plain sight, setting off a twisted series of events that will end in an unspeakable discovery.
Whoa. What the f*** is that? Whoa. Holy sh**.
The following is based on official police records. Just after 7 a.m., the Orono Police Department was contacted about a suspicious vehicle driving without a tire and with the back window smashed. It doesn't take long for officers to spot the vehicle and initiate a traffic stop.
I don't know what. Yeah. What's going on?
Are they eating?
Well, you don't have a tire.
Well, I know I'm going home right now.
You know, so like I said, she get pulled over, right? The cops pulled her over.
You going where?
I'm going right now to the...
Okay. Do you have a driver's license on you today?
You guys mind, can I give you my driver's license alongside driving?
No.
The woman's license identifies her as 28-year-old Julissa Thaler. She claims that an hour ago, teenagers shot at her car with BBs, causing the damage to her tire and rear window.
Look at the BB right there. On the front of the dashboard, on the outside of the car.
I'm gonna jump up a little bit. Right.
That might be the deer meat that she took out of flipping the trailer.
So, you know, I jumped up a little bit. So she had, you know, the police have spotted blood and looked like some flesh or meat on the car. So she said it's some deer meat or something. I don't know if she said it was, you know, from hunting or she hit a deer or whatever the case may be. But that's the story she gave for why it's blood and stuff like that, right?
You don't know if it's loaded or not.
And they also
Inside the
found the
trunk,
gun.
they can see a shotgun. There's also something wrapped in a gray blanket.
What is this? Yeah. Is it an ant? It looks like a kid's leg. There's something in this blanket. Watch out, there's a shotgun there. There's a shotgun there. Point it that way. Well, there's weight to this blanket.
Oh. Alright, let's cover it.
Yep. Let's go grab her.
Yep.
Yeah, we're at her right now.
Baby your condos.
Almost.
Just cover her back up.
Yep. She ran, so I'm gonna...
Pull that up so it doesn't rain.
Okay, so you get there, she ran in her car, but she's not gonna put it through.
We're gonna have to go in and get her. We got a body.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going in.
This horrific discovery is just the beginning, as more disturbing revelations lie ahead. Before they leave, the two responding officers take a moment.
So, you know, so we're gonna jump up a little bit, right? So, you know, they searched the car, they found something that looked like a body, right?
I think you know.
I don't. Well, can you tell me a little
So
bit?
now he's interviewing
So
her.
maybe I'll know why I'm here.
There's a dead body in the trunk of that car. A dead juvenile body.
Really?
You see how nonchalant she is when you listen to her? He like, it's a dead body in your car. She's like, really? Like, you know, just because, like we read, they are content hunters, right? It's in their nature to kill. That's why she can be so relaxed.
That's what I can't answer right now. That's why I'm here talking to you right now.
The reason why we don't know who it was is because the head was missing.
What? In my car?
Police reports reveal that inside the trunk, officers discovered a small body, likely a juvenile, 6 to 8 years old, with a wound on the arm. It appeared the body was missing parts of the head and was possibly dismembered and mangled in other ways.
We have to forensically identify the body because the face is gone. It's missing its face. This little boy.
Little t-shirt on, little pair of shorts. Just missing the face. Do you have any kids?
I have a son.
You have a son? How old is your son?
6.
6 years?
So now this little boy. So remember that last clip we watched. That the good white woman, right? You know, was teaching her child, if she ever get lost or in danger, find a black person because that's gonna save you, right? So now this lady has a dismembered 8-year-old child in her trunk.
What's your son's name?
Eli?
The police are already aware of Julisa's son, Eli, who she shares with her ex, Tori. Eli had been removed from her home by Child Protective Services on 3 occasions. In an EWU exclusive interview, Josie, Tori's wife...
See, that's why we have to protect white people. They have to remove this child 3 times from the house. Right? And I still didn't save the child's life because of white privilege is blinding white people from saving white people. Right? White privilege has killed a lot of white people. Right? This little boy had lost his life because of white privilege.
The circumstances of why Eli was first removed from Julisa's care.
Know what's wrong? Know where to go. Veg. The better, kinder ER for pets.
Ain't go ass, man.
Josie, Tori's wife, explains the circumstances of why Eli was first removed from Julisa's care.
Eli was removed from her home because she was at a doctor's appointment and she had told the physician that she had been hearing things and that she had been having suicidal thoughts.
Because of this, Tori had received an email about Eli's removal. He'd previously not been in contact with Eli because Julisa had made multiple accusations against him, which will come up later in her interview. Now, however...
So this woman been hearing voices and all that stuff, you know, going crazy, psychotic, deranged. So they had to take the child out the house 3 times, but they put this child back into her custody because, again, white privilege blinds white people from seeing and getting the help that they really need.
Informed about his son's life. Ultimately, Eli was returned to Julisa, but a few weeks later he was once again removed after a social worker determined that the house was not livable. He was returned to Julisa a week later.
Fall of 2020, she calls the police because Eli locked her out of the house. They finally get into the house. Eli is screaming at the top of his lungs. He doesn't have any clothes on. There's eggs smeared all over the house. The upstairs bathroom's flooded. They couldn't even find clothes for him to wear, and he had a huge gash on his arm.
This time, when Eli was removed, he was placed into foster care. In an EWU exclusive interview, Nikita, Eli's foster mother, gives insight into Eli's personality.
He was
So yeah, you know, they had to put the boy in foster care, and you know, a week later, put him back into the home again, right? So these things occur because of white privilege, and nobody is policing white people the proper way, like they need to be policed so they can stop the
Back it up.
unaliving.
Everybody make some way. There's barely enough room.
So they can stop the unaliving that occurring amongst them, you know, at this high rate, right? So it's crazy. And, you know, so this good, right here, this good Christian white man, go by the name of Tim Tebow, he tells us a few things, right? And he says this.
The number one offender type is biological fathers.
Tim Tebow.
But by far, it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like, they're you know, technical savvy. And I think that it is time that we call them out. Like, that we can't stand by and stand back. Like, we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing.
So it's Tim Tebow, you know, a good Christian white man, trying to help his fellow white man to stop hurting other white people, their family, their children, right? And let's get some more of this.
The number one offender type is biological fathers. But by far, it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Number one offender type is biological fathers. But by far, it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates.
Right? So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a group of people that are unable to police themselves and help themselves from curating horrific crimes towards one another that spills off into the global community, right? Because they refuse to police themselves, you know, because their white privilege is not allowing them to see the detriment that they are being to themselves and to this world, right? So that's why we have to help them help themselves, right? Because these people are very, you know, diabolical and a hazard, you know, not just to us, but to their own children. Because Tim Tebow is telling us.
One offender went to a playground and he watched all of the boys and girls. And he picked a certain one. And so when the psychologist, after he gets called, is talking to him, he said, why did you pick that one? Why when what's the reason why you did it? Why did you select that person? Is it height? Is it weight? Is it size? Is it color? Is it background? And it was no. He said, no, I waited and I watched and I tried to find the happiest kid so that I could steal her soul. One offender went to a play.
And that's what, you hear that? He said he tried to find the happiest kid so he can steal their soul. That's demonic. That's the forces we're dealing with. That's the forces they are dealing with within themselves. And they refuse to face it. Because their white supremacy, their white privilege does not allow them to look that deep, right?
The number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like, they're technical savvy, and I think that it is time that we call them out. Like, that we can't stand by and stand back. We have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing.
Right?
Sean, it's right here in our backyard. It is right here. And out of everyone, and some people will say, okay, well they're just downloading and sharing it and distributing it, but they're not. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders, and your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. 13 victims. Every one of those red dots is there's a boy or girl that is suffering on the other end of what they're sharing, downloading, or distributing. And I wanted to share that with you because I know that your heart breaks for them, and I think that map brings to life the evil that we're trying to fight, and that's why one of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress. Sean, it's right.
So as we can see, these people have an epidemic amongst themselves, an epidemic of sexual deviancy, an epidemic of violence, an epidemic of thievery, right? An epidemic of just all-out morality and moral bankruptcy, right? They just have a deficiency, period, right? And because we are the people of the Lord, it's our duty to call it out and help themselves by having heavy policing, military style policing, stop and frisk, all that to deter and to turn away the violence that is occurring in that community, right? We got to do something because we're right around the corner from World War III, and it's all their fault. With that being said, shalom, peace. Till next time, we out. Save white people.